Our new song is available for pre-order at getcominghome.com. Check it out. Download iTunes to pre-order and support our work. Robbie's been doing great work calling out these companies. He's basically turned cancel culture back on them.
All right, y'all, it's that time again. It is time to expose Toyota. They have gone totally woke. You are not going to believe what is under the hood of this story, so strap in because it is insane. If you're even slightly moderate, you are going to be questioning if you should ever give this company a dime in the future.
So that's a 13-minute video, so we'll just read it. Toyota's latest come under fire for DEI. Robbie Starbuck, a conservative activist and filmmaker, released a report on the matter Thursday saying it's time to remind them who their customers are after investigating. The findings reveal that diversity and inclusion is the framework of the company. Toyota, which has 100% commitment to DEI policies, gives preferential treatment to diverse suppliers and has employee resource groups that divide workers based on race and sexual orientation. Okay, that's just like the weirdest thing.
That is weird.
Did you imagine working for a company and they're like, okay, and we're going to do shifts now. Who's gay? You'd be like, do I have to tell you? Like, well, if you want the good hours, you better speak up now, right?
Well, this is a thing, too, that is prevalent not just in all of the industries that Robbie Starbuck has been exposing, but when I used to work in New York with some architects, you would put in your proposal for public projects, and there were lots and lots of quotas. There weren't sexual orientation quotas at that time, but there were lots of quotas that you had to meet in order to just submit your proposal in terms of the, makeup of your team. And there was you had to have this many, this proportion of Black-owned firms, this proportion of women-owned firms, or whatever it was. You had to make up, what was it called, the MWBE requirement, minority or women-owned businesses. And there was essentially one Black-owned engineering firm I think it was in New Jersey. And that firm was on every single team that was getting submitted to the city. And there was only one. There was just the one firm. And also they changed the rules so that if you were Asian or South Asian, then you no longer counted as a minority.
Not diverse enough.
You were not diverse enough as an engineering firm because there were just so many South Asian owned engineering firms. But yeah, I think that would be horrifying. Could you imagine if like you were saying, you go into work and you're like, well, you're not the right shade or you're not attracted to the right people. That's happened to you for work?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked at Fusion and they did something called the Black and Brown Forum. And they had their top personalities except me. And they brought in a contractor who was a black man. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and go beg, But I had a meeting with the president after they did everything, did all the promos and they were filming. And I was like, and then I asked them and I was like, a quick question. Is there a reason why I wasn't involved in that? And they were like, oh, it's the Black and Brown Forum. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you're too white. And I was like, I'm mixed race. Don't you know that? And he was just like, yeah, but you look white. You can't ask Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders questions because you look too white. That's what I was told. Not that you are. It is great that you are mixed. That is diversity, right? But you look,
it doesn't count
you look too white.
Because of they judge books by covers, as the saying goes.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should have sued, but the company went bankrupt anyway and ceased to exist.
Oh, good. That's for the best.
I think,
but I'm not like, Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I feel like the framework of a car company is something other than, I don't know, making cars is sort of strange. Like,
yeah, I think so
too.
Too.
Why would you want to cultivate an environment where it's actually completely obsessed with who in your office is sleeping with who and their race? Doesn't that seem like very backwards? I thought people were against this kind of behavior.
Yeah, and Robbie's had a lot of success recently. So he's been exposing all these woke companies, started with John Deere, and he actually got them to push back a lot of their things. Because, you think of the John Deere customer, it's farmers, rural, conservatives, mostly Republicans. He actually got them to scale back on the DEI policies. He then exposed Harley Davidson, which, again, you don't associate with all this woke nonsense. He actually got them to basically commit to leaving the HRC Corporate Quality Index program, which is basically the thing that all of these companies use to promote DEI, woke diversity hiring, pushing all the LGBTQI plus policies. So, there has been a lot of success, especially with conservatives for the last few years with Bud Light, Target. I think these companies, they do this because they're signed up to this HRC thing. And then the moment they get exposed and then they start to see the profits tumble because they're upsetting their core customer base with all their conservative customers, that's when they start to change. So he's actually been very effective with his campaign.
And the HRC rating is, to me, it's one of these things that is so crazy. It's a effectively progressive institution that started scoring businesses that then they started to take seriously and care about. So then they were able to dictate, here's how you get a good score.
Public Square should do that.
We should do it. We should make them up all the time. I mean,
All
that's
right,
the thing. Like,
Toyota, you get a 1.
yeah.
It's bad.
Maybe a 0.5 unless you shape up.
Very bad
I mean,
number.
It's only credible because people have started to legitimize it. And that's true of a lot of these like progressive-based institutions that are saying, you know, they're the cleanest or they're the diversest or they're the most their opinions don't actually matter, and they have an agenda they're pushing. So the second you decide this is how I am going to legitimize my company, you're actually taking sides in all of this. When if you're a tractor company, I really feel like you don't need to.
Just make tractors, exactly.
Yes, make tractors, make cars, make motorcycles.
Make tractors, do well by your employees and your stockholders.
But you guys understand what this is, right? The reason why they have a diversity officer, all these companies, this is how they create Chinese communism in the United States. So the Chinese Communist Party is in every single company, and you've got the party members who operate in the company and tell people what they're supposed to do, and they're trying to implement that here in the United States, and they're doing it through DEI. That's why it makes no sense, but it's all ideologically driven. Fall in line, march in lockstep, and this is it's totalitarian. It's not too dissimilar to how the Nazis operated. And I know it's cliche. People say Godwin's laws, but this does apply. The Nazis, people say, oh, they were socialist. No, they were capitalists. You're a liar. They were left wing. No, they were right wing. The socialists used fear of being ostracized. And the general idea was, if you were a company, you were free to do whatever you wanted. But why aren't you making steel for the war effort? And it means bad things if you're not with the people. So they effectively used cancel culture style heavy-handed politics to force everyone in line with the things they wanted done. So it wasn't overt socialism or communism like people expect, but it was very much the will of the people be done or else. So what they're trying to implement now is likened to the Chinese Communist Party. They want everybody to fall in line with their ideological values, and they're doing it through economic means. If Toyota can fire you for not abiding by their ideology, they remove you from the economy. You can't buy food anymore. Private sector, it's almost like communism exploiting the private sector. So they can figure out ways to punish people for deviating. But this is why all of these big companies have the same core ideological faction. Because the ideological faction wants to remove people from the market if they violate, if they don't go along with their new cult or religion. And so they start injecting it into different companies. Then those companies can fire people and you can punish them.
Yeah, it's basically like in China, they have in some cities the social credit score where people are named and shamed and they can't do certain things. They can't, get a job, for instance, if their score is low. And that's what this kind of thing, it's basically like that. The HRC's score system is basically, if you get a low score, you're a bad company or your employees are bad and stuff. It's trying to, like you were saying, vilify these people and make them fall in line. Just with COVID, when you had the craziness of you go into a restaurant, you wear the mask, you take it off when you sit down, then you put it back on. Same with the plane. You're on a plane, everybody has dinner at the same time, you all take the mask off for 10 minutes, put it back on. It's that trying to get people to fall in line, and if you dare go against that, you are a heretic, you are blasphemous. That's kind of how they try to treat you, like in the medieval times when you're considered a witch, because you might be an outspoken woman, they try to vilify you. And it's, speak to anyone from a communist country. I think you've probably had Yeonmi Park on the show, Z Van Fleet, who's from China.
Oh yeah,
they will tell you what's happening in America now is exactly
Lily Tang Williams
they fled from. Lily Tang Williams, they fled from that, and they are sounding alarm bells now. This is happening right now, and we need to do something.
Have y'all watched Three Body Problem yet?
No.
We talked about it when it first came out, but this is a tremendous cultural victory for those who believe in freedom. It's Netflix, I believe. It's based on a book, and the series starts in the Culture Revolution. So they actually filmed this huge scene where you watch professors get beaten to death, and all the people are cheering with the red books and everything. And it's kind of shocking that you wouldn't expect Netflix or a U.S. institution to be critical of communism right about now when they're doing all this weird stuff.
Well, but all of these companies too are finding that they are perfectly willing to backtrack,
Once the money starts disappearing.
Once the money starts disappearing.
They thought they could slip it under the rug.
Which I kind of respect. Like, if you're a shill for one side and then, that side stops paying out and the other side starts boycotting you and then you're a shill for the other side, like, at least you're an equal opportunity shill. I think that's...
Yeah, I think we're winning, though.
That's a little bit honest.
Do you think any companies are looking at, like any of the competitors, these companies looking at what's happening and saying, we've got to scale back our thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, with Robbie's campaigns, you've seen when he exposes these companies like Harley-Davidson, after public pressure, after media pressure, they do actually scale back. You saw it, of course, with Target. They actually completely scaled back their Pride collection. They didn't have the tuck-friendly swimwear this year.
They stopped putting it right up
the
front.
Kids stuff, exactly.
Right.
They realized that, you know, when you're shoving it in people's faces, they don't want that. So I think there is a big win
The
last few
satanic
years.
accessories.
Exactly.
Literally satanic.
Literally, the designer was, you know, doing these Baphomet T-shirts and stuff for kids. So, you know, I think when the companies care about profit at the end of the day, yes, they do have the DEI. Yes, they have, you know, BlackRock pushing these DEI things on the companies. But when they're losing millions of dollars, that's when they start to change. So I think there is, you know, people are winning this cultural war, but they do need to be more outspoken and say, look, you shouldn't be pushing this as a company. Just stick to making cars, stick to making tractors. Nobody cares about your political opinion. Same with celebrities. Nobody cares, you know, your political opinions, just keep it to yourself. You know, why can't you do that? And we've seen quite a few celebrities that haven't endorsed Kamala Harris when we know they're Democrat, like Beyonce's very, very, of course, Democrat. But some of these celebrities haven't completely endorse them publicly because they know there's that backlash now. They know, you know, they're turning off their comments. They're getting people actually trying to say, why do you support this person? She's allowing all the illegal immigration or the trans kids, you know. So I think a lot more people now are less obvious with all of this kind of DEI stuff.
Right. I think with celebrities in particular, like, we can all assume that it was almost more fun when with the conservative celebrities, you'd be like, I think that one's a Republican. You know, they didn't want to say anything, but you sort of be guessing.
Like Adam Sandler, Kelsey Grammer.
Right. I'm going to default assume all of you are voting Democrat. You don't need to tell me. I get it. With companies, though, I mean, having this, you know, Toyota, having this car company face the effects, I assume, you know, probably all of them have some level of DEI policy since it's so widespread now. It's kind of infiltrated everything. With these exposures, does it need to be systematic? Like, do we now need to move on to Nissan and Subaru in the next one? Or is it enough to have Toyota have this effect? Will that encourage the other ones to change? Or do you think they'll just try and hide what they're doing?
You know that meme of death knocking on doors? We need that, but it's Robbie Starbuck knocking on doors, and it's the companies
I think he's actually shared that meme of all the companies that he's been going around, and he's then saying the next one
that should definitely be his Halloween costume, you know?
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.